How's everybody doing today? You're live with the Flea Code, all right? This is Decoding the Code. And today I'm here with Professor Robert Bond.
How are you, sir? My pleasure.
Excellent,
Thank you.
excellent. And I'm going to tell you, your class has been very invigorating to me because you've been giving us some of the most outstanding knowledge because it takes a lot to teach. And to learn from somebody, it requires a lot of them as well. And so...
But my favorite student here just told me I'm old and unexperienced.
Oh, please. Plethora of knowledge.
Thank you.
Yeah. So why don't you inform the viewers outside of myself? Tell us about your career, who you've worked with, and some of the experiences you acquired along the way.
Yep, absolutely. What I'm going to do, and you want me to look at the camera yourself? Which one?
Either way, whatever makes you more comfortable.
All right, I'll go back and forth. What I'm going to do is give you like a synopsis of what I'm all about, from the family right through to where I am right now, and the futures and everything.
Absolutely.
I'm mostly Italian, and I came from an environment where Dad was an accountant.
Interesting.
Right, and a workaholic, and one job his whole life. Brought work home with him, this and that. Don't ever remember him having vacations, but the weekends were his. Okay. And basically, I don't think of him as a business person as much as he did everything he could to make sure his family never wanted for anything. So he drove a cab on the weekends that weren't his. If they think they needed more, he took extra shifts. When he passed his CPA exam, he still did bookkeeping duties while becoming a certified public accountant. And so a lot of people with my schedule say they could see that in me, which I never thought of, because to me, as I guess to him, he loved numbers. And he loved the accounting side. Mom was a housewife. Auntie was a fashion designer. And Uncle, my favorite profession is that he was an engineer with the Pullman trains.
Really?
Now, when I said that to him, I said, "Wow, so you fixed the trains?" No. I guess it's a long time ago.
It's interesting. My dad actually was into that.
Yeah, exactly. So I remember when John F. Kennedy saved Grand Central by making it a landmark so they couldn't touch it.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, they were going to just renovate it and maybe even tear it down. And Jackie was on the board, and when she passed away, the son stepped up and saved it, got it deemed a national landmark so they can't touch it now.
You learn something new every day.
So to celebrate, they brought back the old Pullman trains. And it was almost like when I went to Ellis Island and I found my relatives. It was when I went there and I was talking to a lot of the people. Now I'm the big-time marketing director of People magazine. That always opens up a lot of doors, because who doesn't want to be in the cover of People and this and that?
Absolutely.
And I would throw it around quite a bit. I'd almost give the impression I was writing an article just to get special attention, so to speak. Typical marketing person. And they actually found that my uncle was one of the engineers. They went into the archives and said, "There's Peter Pasquarello," and I just froze. Now, the reason I'm telling you all this, and I think my grandfather was mafia, I'm not sure. Oh, so I can't say that. I don't know about my grandfather, other than make very good grapes, which made very good wine, and what have you. There wasn't a business person in the bunch.
Really?
Dad, I would say, was the closest, but I don't think he really cared what the numbers say. He just loved accounting. He just loved balancing checkbooks and ledger sheets and taxes, tax time. He would do everybody's taxes. He was a real quant, it's called QANT. But I never remember politics ever being spoken. I never remember, outside of Sundays, any booze, any beverage, alcohol, just wine on Sundays. I also don't remember any business ever being spoken.
Really? I mean, being that he was always about the numbers, you don't think that that soaked up into you a little bit?
I was going to say that the fact of the matter is, you're as astute now as you were in class. The fact of the matter is, everything he did was business, and everything did exactly what you just said. But initially, I was saying there was not business until I got into business, until I went to Manhattan College, and I went to Manhattan College as an engineering student and said, I can't cut this. I found it boring. I can't be. Same thing. Maybe I would have liked to do as opposed to fixing the. I wanted to build bridges as opposed to whatever I was supposed to be doing in the engineering school.
Okay.
So I went into business because I always liked making money. I would always hustle. We were given allowances, but the allowances weren't nearly as much as selling lemonades, doing this, doing that, having this. I started a dog walking business when I was younger.
Okay, that's different.
Right, as I say, and whereby I would go and say, have a whole schedule, and just say I can wash them and groom them and feed them. And we came from the Bronx, we came from middle class, and everybody was working, but everyone wanted dogs. So we had all those wonderful buildings, and I would have a schedule, and we'd be walking these dogs from poodles to German shepherds. And everyone that I used to charge by the dog, by the duty.
Okay.
And then go to my dad, and we would work out the numbers
Okay.
and everything. And that's when I realized that my dad was the first one that I take his phrase all the time. In business, you really judge on how well you conceptualize facts and figures into meaning.
Okay.
A fact by itself is nothing. A figure by itself is nothing. But what does the fact and figure together mean? What kind of salient point, what kind of selling point do you get from that? I once taught a direct marketing class at NYU, and my question, my project was, how would you do a report about numbers without it being boring? And I knew nobody was working on it to the very end. And then they started to ask me questions, and I knew it. What is the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between 298 and 301? You say 3. Not really. Look what I said. What is the difference between .298 and .301? So now it's the difference. You didn't see the point initially. Now it's some kind of percentage.
Okay.
Now you think baseball, and you finish with a 298 batting average, meds and meds. You hit 300, you got a huge contract. So the difference between 298 and 301 is millions, because Ralph Kiner once said single hitters don't drive Cadillacs, and he complained that if you're getting up there, swing as when I used to try to play baseball, swing as hard as you can in case the ball hits the bat.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, that worked.
Right?
I played baseball when I was young too. So.
Yeah, I was going to say, and the fact is, I just did a seminar at New York Institute of Technology combined with NYU, the future of the business of sports. And I told them, I said, hang on, people, find out what the analogy of Pandora's box. You never open a Pandora's box, and when you open it up, all the sins came out.
Okay.
And you keep them there. The whole idea with the NCAA in California allowing, for the most part, to have college athletes get paid to play has just opened up a whole new
door.
Exactly. And so, going back to that, so for a family that wasn't very business oriented, they were entirely business oriented. My grandmother ran a business. I don't know the legality of it, but she ran a business.
I mean, hey, listen, you got to do what you have
Exactly. My mother my mother was as autistic as my aunt.
Really?
But my mother had 2 kids and a husband to take care of back in the day. But they both used to sew dresses and sell the garments.
Fascinating.
They used to make jewelry from Italy and this and that, like this, and sell, so people would come to our houses and buy stuff, and everything was a cash business.
Being that, just to touch on this point, because what I'm hearing is that everybody knew the infrastructure from the ground up and was a part of the process.
Yeah.
I remember about a week ago I came in and talked to you about how a lot of kids now are starting businesses online.
Absolutely.
With no infrastructure or understanding, and that is what actually is costing them money.
That's right.
So what I want to know is that, being that you've seen it from such an early age, right? When you finally went into the workspace, how did all of these things affect you, and what do you see in relation to the new group of individuals that are getting ready to leave college?
That's a great question. What I think made the difference when I say in class that the unique selling point is what is the perceived difference that makes you better. You can't just say unique selling point is what makes you better, because we're all better in something. We're all number one in something. You have to create a perception. And what is the perception? What is the perceived difference that makes you better? And I think when I'm asked about what is my USP, when I ask what is my elevator pitch would be, I tell them, I know how to make people money. Those are 8 words.
Powerful ones.
And if you want to know how, I tell cab drivers, then pull over to Mercy, go register for my class, let me see the receipt, and then sit down. In 15 weeks you're going to know, because there's no magic beans, no quick way of doing it.
Right.
Well, there's a lot of quick ways of doing it, but it's a process.
Absolutely.
So I love that question, great question, because one of the things I've always done from the beginning is to hustle. And to treat every situation like it's your last meal. Or I tell people like it's your last piece of Italian bread or pizza or something like that. That you don't leave any stones unturned.
Right.
I tell people all the time, if you're going to go on an interview, get a sense of what the person's all about. And I know a young lady who heads up Chanel's marketing. She's old-fashioned. She likes handwritten notes.
Best ones.
Right? And when I will tell students, look, she likes handwritten notes. Get a nice piece of stationery. Let's get a nice stationery. Handwrite the note. There's no spell check, so make sure everything's correct. Put a stamp on it and send it in. 95% of the students I tell won't do that. And I'll say to them why, and they say, well, we didn't want to disrespect you, but we thought that was kind of corny. And what I see different with the current crop versus everything from my generation, your generation, all the way up, is that if you get that piece of information, this gentleman and a lot of my students would jump on that.
Right.
They would absolutely, because it's coming from someone that you know cares and knows the inside track.
Absolutely.
That's what marketing, that's what business is all about. What is that perceived difference that makes you better? And you can't live without that perceived difference. What I see now is almost a sense of entitlement. I've just complained, honestly and truthfully, about one of my courses, which will remain nameless, and I just said that I have 12 people in the class here. I came on Thursday, and 4 were there. The other 8 didn't tell me where they were. The dog and pony show is due this week. And unless those 4 told the 8, they won't know what's expected. Exactly. So much so that what I try to do as an added surprise is to teach students how to do a business plan along with the marketing plan. I actually pulled the business plan off the table because I could see it's falling on deaf ears. And that just kills me. Last semester, I taught the whole thing, and in August, the Dream Team launched their own business.
Nice.
As I say, and it was written up quite a bit, so much so that now we're continuing it, and I make sure I rearrange my schedule to get here on Thursdays for the meetings. So I'm hoping it's not a sense of entitlement. Maybe I'll take that back. Maybe they're just not hungry enough. Maybe they just don't realize how great it is when you put on a special event and it works. When you sell a partnership instead of a product. When your ad wins the best Clio, the best commercial, but it also increases the volume of the selling of that product. I tell students all the time, public relations is dead. It's called marketing public relations.
You know, it's interesting to me because I have a class right now. It's the art of speech. And the professor had asked us a series of questions. How many people do you think have access to the internet? Are there more natural disasters now than there have been? A lot of us were saying yes and yes, but the truth is they've gone down.
That's exactly right.
We're so connected. We're just talking about phones. It's amazing. And we have so much information constantly thrown in front of us that we believe that it's happening all the time.
That's exactly right.
And I think that the entitlement may be coming from the fact that they want instant gratification.
Oh, absolutely. I tell people all the time, being the former marketing director of places like People Magazine, I tell people all the time that magazines aren't dead, reading is dead. Magazines will always survive, we'll just customize them.
Okay.
Megan Has Another Baby, that's another big seller. I don't know, Breaking Bad quits after 20 years on television, that's another one. The late great, actually I knew him quite well, Robin Williams dies, that's a huge bestseller. Because you're always going to refer back to the printed word so you can look at it and save it. Reading, we don't do this anymore, people. We do this. We don't turn the pages, we go like this. I see something, I don't have to read it because I know I'm going to go back and it's still going to be there. I'm on the train, I'm reading something, when I fold that and put it away, I'm not going to get it again. It's too much trouble.
True.
Here, all you do is this. When my first job was with Philip Morris. And I took it for one reason, and this I don't see in, let's just say, this year's crop of students.
Okay.
My first job I took because Philip Morris paid 100% tuition reimbursement.
Okay.
And I knew the ends justify the means. I had a lot of good mentors, a lot of good people in my life, and they told me, you need your MBA.
Okay.
My parents told me, that's it, we pay for college, you're on your own.
Right.
And once you start working, start giving me the rent, you know, for the building, for my one bedroom in the back. So you're gonna start paying for it.
I mean, it's cheaper than having your own place.
Exactly right. Well, here's the clincher. So I stayed at home for most of my life. Then when I moved out, after I got the job at People, my dad came down with leukemia.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I had to go back. Not I had to. I went back home. I wasn't officially ever gone, but I just enough to lose the first month and the maintenance or whatever, because I got into this apartment not far from where they were, and I saw that to keep him in remission, he needed chemo twice a day, injections. So I gave up everything, moved back home, least I can do, and took care of my dad for the next, say, 4 or 5 years.
Honorable and noble.
Okay. But the outstanding thing, more so than that, was that then he unfortunately passed away, and then I got married. And when I got married, my mother handed me something like this called the Blue Book, and in the Blue Book was every penny I gave her for rent. She saved that for me as a wedding gift.
Wow.
So she never, and we're talking like 10 years, she never used one penny of what I gave her. She made a little bank book, and every rent I gave her, she put aside for me. So where she could have she sacrificed quite a bit and did that, whereas unfortunately I called her every name in the book under my breath because I was paying that much rent for a little bedroom in the back, still cheaper than everything else. She said to me, oh, here, by the way, this is for you. And I opened it up, and there was all the entries, the old days, banking, this and that. Tears come down like crazy. But that's what you did. And so I don't know enough about the students. I'm hoping that the family is still there, that the tree falls close to whatever it is, the acorn falls close to the tree. But I do know that when I was finally told you're gonna have to pay rent, I needed a job that paid for that.
Right.
So I said, okay, I'm going to St. John's. I need a job that's out on the island near St. John's. Ends justify the means. So I took a job because how difficult is it to sell Marlboro? Easy. And I'm getting paid all this money and 100%.
Well, what time period? Because you can't say now it's hard.
Wait, this is in the 1980s. Not 1880s, but 1980s. How difficult. It was cool. It was Marlboro, leading cigarette. Fantastic. They paid for like 13 courses, whatever it took to get the master's back then. The very end, the dean at St. John said to me, you're taking so many extra courses? Of course, they're paying for it.
Right.
They said, would you be interested if you took 4 more courses, you graduate with a double master's?
Oh.
I picked up the phone, I called the Philip Morris HR, I said, would you pay for 4 more masters? They said yes. I hung up the phone, I said, okay, I'll get it.
Nice.
Now I'm applauded for having the initiative, the smartness of having a double master. No, if Philip Morris would have said no, I was going to say no. I'm not spending that money, so rather be lucky than good. Okay. I couldn't agree with you more. But there's even worse. It's even, it was accepted. It was almost like a badge of honor, be smoking like madmen, this and that. Well, I worked on a team that invented the first healthy cigarette. And the first healthy cigarette, low tar, less nicotine, was a cigarette called Merit's. And what we did was we created something called a market niche or niche. We created we used the research to see that people love the idea of smoking and still being healthy.
Okay.
Obviously, now that would get killed. I've been teaching a long time. I will never show any of my ads because I say this all the time. What we did is help create low tar, less nicotine. We created a reason for people to smoke more. So when it's time to check out, I know I'm not going this way.
Right.
I just don't want to go this way.
I put it to you like this: whenever you sell something, like you said early in class, I'm not holding a gun to your head.
Yeah.
You have
I
a
agree.
choice.
I agree with you. All right. So several years later, the good people of Philip Morris bought Miller Brewing Company, and we're sitting there with the bomb of a dog of a beer in our hands called Miller High Life, the champagne of bottled beer. You know the Italian? Champagne of bottled beer. I say something in Italian, but I don't want to curse. Said, oh my God, what the heck is that? Champagne of bottled beer. We're in deep trouble here. Look, all those domestic, look at that green bottle over there, Heineken taking all our business away. So we created LITE trademark. And my last campaign I came up with was, there's plenty of light beer, but there's only one LITE, and we took a lifetime trademark on it. So go into your stores for Thanksgiving, get your beers for the turkey, then you'll never see another LITE, because my team was smart enough to say, we got a success in our hands. And how do we know this? Ready? Low tar, less nicotine. Less filling, tastes great. Low tar, less nicotine. Less filling, tastes great. Same dog, different fleas.
It always works the same.
Exactly. Why marketing is so successful, why you're so successful, if you just remember the demography, just remember the demographics. We didn't create light beer for people that wanted to lose weight, that was exercising, that any number of reasons. We created light beer for men who stood 6'7" and their bellies touched the ground. We want you to drink more. We want you to smoke more. We don't hold a gun to your head, but let's just say when I'm waving at you up there, the pearly grapes.
It makes you feel better.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I'll say, put a good word in for me, will you, nephew?
Absolutely.
I don't want to take too much more time, but after my master's and everything else, you got to make decisions. And I find myself in a great position. I helped create the first healthy cigarette. We repositioned Virginia Slims. Oh, and by the way, Virginia Slims, you come a long way, baby. That was one of our campaigns. Right? We're acknowledging the glass ceiling is starting to get chipped away by women, never before in the workforce, this and that. Not making nearly as much money, but we need to celebrate your independence by creating a cigarette for you. You've come a long way, baby. Fantastic. It was the Me Too movement before the Me Too movement. However, shh.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. There is no such thing as the female tobacco leaf. The same tobacco that's in Marlboro is in Virginia Slims. That's those nasty marketing people creating the brand.
I see.
It's the same cigarette. It's just you come a long way, baby, sexy, as opposed to Marlboro Country with the hat.
So it's the way they package it to bring it to the market. Okay.
Trivia question: the first Marlboro man in print was somebody named Tom Selleck. I think he's still around.
Okay.
Good trivia question. Yeah. I think I make a decision. I wanted to get into brand management more. They wanted me going to sales. The Italian has got fresh. You have a fresh head. You got this experience. Look around. I looked around. I got frustrated. And then all of a sudden, this gossip magazine opened up.
Okay.
And the gossip magazine was something called People Magazine. It was called Gossip back then. I became right place at the right time, became People Magazine's first marketing director.
Right.
I'm old.
No.
First thing I did is I said, we're not going to call it gossip anymore. Why? And I said, well, this gentleman buys it and spends $1. But Poland Springs takes an ad and spends $50,000. This gentleman buys it because he wants to read the gossip. This company buys it because we have demographics, we have family homemakers, we have professional managerials. We have a lot of people that won't admit to reading it, but they're reading it. So I coined it personality journalism.
Okay.
So they looked at me and they said, really? I said, yeah. yeah. First healthy cigarette. We've come a long way, baby. And then in this case, it's personality journalism. Tastes filling, less great, and everything else. I said it's all about branding. And I said, so we're going to call it personality journalism because then Poland Springs not ashamed to be in the magazine.
Okay.
And when Poland Springs and some advertisers start getting the magazine, the editorial is going to change also. Now we're going to write about poor baby Jessica who fell in the well and almost died. How did this rugged, virile Rock Hudson emaciate in front of our eyes? What was it that he had? Some disease that affected gay people. No, it didn't. It was something called, called AIDS and can affect anyone. We started to become informative.
Okay.
You never change it. We still have who's sleeping with whom. No, we never did that. Who wore what to the Oscars and this and that.
Okay.
But we did that. You know why? Because we had Chanel on page 16. They wanted to see fashion editorial.
I mean, hey, that's the highest one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in each of the cases. So what I became People Magazine's first marketing director, and for 7 of the 10 years I was there, we ran 4,000 pages and $175 million per year. Per year. And just created the opportunity to then come up with Entertainment Weekly. I worked with Sports Illustrated, and Sports Illustrated had the wonderful swimsuit issue.
Everybody loves that.
Right? So I'm sitting there, and they said, well, we have a special anniversary. Does anybody have any ideas? So somebody has an idea. For the anniversary issue, we're going to put 3D glasses in it.
Okay.
And we're going to get Tyra Banks, and we're going to get Kathy Ireland, and we're going to get Heidi, and we're going to put the process on them because we own the processing, and you're going to look at them 3D.
How did that go over?
And when Tyra is throwing the frisbee, you're going to see everything coming at you in 3D.
Wow.
So everybody applauded, and I sat there, and I put my hand up. I said, People Magazine, what? I said, do we own the processing? Yeah. Okay. How much does the issue cost? $5. All right. And I open it up, and there's a bottle of Heineken in an issue. I said, why don't we put the processing on the bottle of Heineken? Keep the girls, they're nice.
Right.
But Heineken's going to give us $500,000 to be in this magazine. Because what we're going to tell them is, you're the only beverage alcohol company
in this
one.
Gotcha.
And then we're going to go to Pepsi and tell them the same thing. And disgustingly so, we're going to go to McDonald's. Because some reason, the Big Mac in 3D looks delicious. And I said, if you want, we can have an auction, or you can have your paisans, you can have your salespeople who have the contact say, just for you, this is what we're doing. But we're only going to do it once. And we're only going to do it for subscribers. And I'm going to promote the heck out of it, because that's what sales is all about.
Absolutely.
We're going to keep the girls, but we're going to do this. And I said, anybody thinking of doing that? And it's funny, they said to me, okay, you're allowed to go back. I was doing like a trial with them for whatever. Okay. And I got called to the president of Time Inc., who said, Robert? And I said, yes. And he says, we got 2 statements to make. We like the idea very much, and we're going to do it. I said, okay. He says, but it has to come from us, not you. And I said, excuse me? They said, we can't have that. People Magazine came up with this, so we're going to say that Jim is the ad director, and he came up with it. And this is the best thing I can say to you, future marketers. You firmly 2 feet in the ground, you look right into the person and say, what's in it for me? 5 words. What's in it for me? And they looked at me, they said, excuse me? They said, what's in it for me? And I said, well, we really don't know. I said, I could keep on saying it, but the same 5 words. What's in it for me? Why should I be quiet? And they said, what do you want? And I said, here's the magical words, because this is what I do in business. I collect favors.
Okay.
I said, you'll owe me one.
And that's all they ever needed.
That's it. Yeah. You owe me one. I said, I will never breathe this. I didn't talk about it for years, well afterwards. And when people see it, I'll applaud it. If social media was around, I would have just put it on my Facebook page and look at the greatest things since Italian bread, this and that. But you owe me one.
Absolutely.
And the funny part about it is, this is the horrible part about this is young people have sought me too much. Suppose Time Inc. is gone now. Meredith bought people and just sold parts away. Sports Illustrated is almost gone. The swimsuit issue will be around probably, and now it's online. And all the people are gone, and I never collected the favor. But I never collected the favor, and deep down I never intended to collect the favor. I just love, that's what the business part is, when you put together an idea and that works. You put an event together, at the very end you're going to get accolades. Never measure, I tell students all the time, never measure your blood, sweat, and tears. When you, I love this cartoon where Linus is asking Charlie Brown, Linus, I want to become one. What does a teacher make? And Charlie Brown says, teachers make a difference, Linus. Teachers make a difference. So he's talking about salary, and he's talking about he makes a difference. And I really do believe that despite the fact that I went from there and I worked with HBO when I first started, and we used to film Robert Klein, Carly Simon, the late great George Carlin right there in our studios and this and that, and we all knew the importance of bringing in home box office, bringing in theaters to your house. We were way before everything that's happening now. HBO was always the cutting edge. And then we also knew we had to have original programming. And then when I worked at HBO, they said, well, what is our People magazine? What is our People magazine? And the light bulb went off. I said, we got to bring back fights.
There it is, okay.
We got to bring back Friday night fights, because my uncle and my dad, they were best of buddies, brother-in-laws, and my grandfather used to be upstairs with the homemade wine and the pizza, watching wrestling and watching fights. And if I can't bring back the wrestling, we got to bring back the fights. Okay. And then I remember meeting the late great Robin Williams. You would never know it was Robin Williams before that. And I worked a lot on the comic reliefs that he was doing for 10 years with Whoopi and Billy.
Nice.
And a lot of money. A lot of that doesn't even go onto the resume, because I'm a big believer that your resume should be your advertisement. You want to talk about this to people. That's why I try to bring to the classrooms.
Absolutely.
When Time Inc. unfortunately got taken over by Warner Brothers, and then Warner Brothers in turn did not like the Time Inc. flavor, and they gave me a ton of money, because they had their own marketing directors years and years later. Gave me a ton of money over 2 years, full benefits, to go away.
Oh wow.
You believe that?
Wow. To go away.
To go away. And recommendation up the wazoo, you can have an office here until you find something, this and that, but 110 weeks, full benefits.
That's a great option.
So I said, okay, cry, okay. Then I got, about a month later, I got an offer to become Life Magazine's marketing director, which meant I had to give all the money back.
Oh.
And this is the importance of networking. This is the importance of having mentors. The HR person brought me to the office, and I'm all happy that I'm back. And he says, it's time to grow up. He says, time to grow up. You're not going to give back 106 weeks to go work for Life Magazine. Because when life folds, and it will, you're going to get 0. Because we have a new sheriff in town, that's Warner Brothers. And they're not giving away 110 weeks.
Okay.
And he says, it's time for you to move on. And you do. You just say, okay, that's it. And I had to refuse an opportunity to go back. But a lot of that, again, goes back to heritage. I tell people all the time, the best thing to describe anything, authority, heritage, trust. If you're doing any kind of presentation, any kind of pitch, any kind of promotion, authority, heritage, trust. Can you define that you're the authoritative voice in this? People that trust. Heritage. How long have you done it? What do people say about you? Add verbatims. And a lot of what I do, everything falls in that category. Years and years later, I could tell you, I had a job I wish I was going to get. I was going for a job. So marketing director of WWE, the magazine. Okay? This is years and years later. This is after People magazine, HBO, Sports Illustrated. This is after Forbes. This is after, this might have been after the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That might have been before. This is after Soap Opera Digest, Prime Media, sponsorships, newfangled thing called the internet, reinventing myself and everything else. I get contacted, and that Smash and Raw magazine was combining, create something called WWE the magazine. Would I be interested? And I went down to 2 people, and I went out to Stanford. Linda McMahon is absolutely brilliant. Vince is, well, when you shake Vince's hand, make sure the thumb is still there.
He has a vice grip.
All of this would be gone.
Oh, wow.
No, he knows how to make money, Vince. But Linda is deserving of that. I think she's still in government now. She's still in Trump's cabinet. Okay. I went out there and it was hysterical, and they brought me all around, and I wanted that job like you would not believe, because I used to follow them, this and that. They know how to make money. They pay very well. And they brought me, they said, okay, let's go into the conference room. And I went to the conference room, and there were several of the wrestlers going through their routines.
I'm sure that was an experience.
Okay, so when I hit you, Rey Mysterio, when I hit you with the chair, when it breaks, you bite down and let the blood come out. Everything was scripted. Every single thing is scripted. The breakaway chairs, the this, and fall on this side, and then stand up and make sure I can hit you. Don't stand this way. They had it down to a science. But that was their conference room. Was their and when I did not get the job, and I went to somebody else, I was very depressed. Again, you got it. You have to have network. You have to have mentors. One of my mentors said to me, "How would you explain just one thing? How would you explain Philip Morris, People magazine, Forbes, Kiplinger's? I forgot about Kiplinger's. So Prime Media, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society's first marketing director, WWE." And I said, why would I have to explain it? Because in business, people, there's two packagings. There's the packaging, and then there's the product. Actually, so said there's 2 products. There's the packaging, and then there's the product. The product is what you see. But on the resume, you'll see that I made a decision voluntarily to go work for the World Wrestling Entertainment. And that would have been a knock.
So it all came back to perspective and how you channeled it out.
Exactly right. Beautiful. And I looked at that and I just said, seriously? And they said, you would have spent your entire career explaining why you went down. Yeah.
It's amazing.
It's like I was asking in the class, if I asked you for a salary and this and that, and you get all the way up to $100,000, yes, I would do it. But I never once said where was the company. And if the company was American Media, and American Media makes something called a Star National Enquirer, you're the product of your environment. The son must pay for the father's sins. And I stood there, and he says, this is devastating for you now, but it would be more devastating. You'd explain the first time you went into one of your classes, and they want to know, do you know Hulk Hogan? I mean, right now I get things like, do you know JFK? Yes. Do you know Robert Williams? Yes, I knew him. I knew a lot of people, but I'm proud of knowing these people.
Absolutely. It was an experience.
Exactly. Not too sure I would have been proud.
I mean, hey, everybody has their qualms, right?
Yeah, all I kept on saying is, I would like nothing better than work for a company that has its own flag.
Well, Professor, I appreciate your time today.
Oh,
I don't want to hold you up too much longer. Thank you for the knowledge.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure.